There's a story out of Lakeland, Florida. You know, every time we look up, we have some sort of incidents happening out of Florida, and I don't know what's going on in that state really with the brothers and sisters down there. Y'all inform me, let me know, because it's like some of the worst of the worst in the South is in Florida. Now, you had this 11-year-old brother. He goes to Lawton Chiles Middle Academy. He has a substitute teacher that's an immigrant from Cuba, and I'm bringing all this up for a reason. Now, this 11-year-old young brother is a native black American descendant of slaves. Want to make sure that he has an establishment here in this country. His ancestors had an establishment here in this country. When it was time to stand up for the flag, Miss Ana Alvarez, which is a substitute teacher, she wasn't an actual teacher there. She had worked for Kelly Services. She told him to stand up for the flag. Our young brother stated that flag is racist and that national anthem is offensive to black people. Now, some people that may not know why he would say something like that, where he would get that from, about a year or two ago, everybody was talking about the national anthem and the third verse from the national anthem, because the national anthem that you know of is just one verse. It's one out of four. But it's the third verse that's really racist and offensive to black people. Now, the man that wrote it, Francis Scott Key, he was a person who was a lawyer. He hated abolitionists. He was pro-slavery. He wanted all free blacks to go back to Africa. That's how he felt about it. And this guy here was the one that penned the national anthem. So it'd be no different than a Richard Spencer or David Duke if they was to go ahead and write the national anthem. Same thing with this particular guy, Francis Scott Key, that they herald up as a great guy, but he was a piece of crap. He wasn't worth a drop of piss. History. He just wasn't worth anything, okay? So if we look at that third stanza just real quick, and you will see, let's read it. Right here, it says, and where is that band who so violently swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight and the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of freedom, home of the brave. Now, as you can see, as we're continuing here, that the brothers were escaped slaves that joined with the British were the colonial Marines, okay? And they were part of the British forces that overran D.C. in 1814 and set fire to the White House. Now, it say when Key referenced foul footsteps of the howling slave who no refuge could save from the gloom of the grave in the third verse, he's referencing the killing of the colonial Marines, okay? That's noted what they talking about. Yeah, I know who Jason Johnson is. You know who he is if you saw my video. And he said it's a diss track to black people. You know, I already talked about that as well back in the past. So what I'm trying to tell you, this young brother know his history. He knows that that flag is drenched in our blood. He knows this at 11 years old. So he tells this substitute teacher accurately that that song is offensive to black people. She, not being educated in anything, decides to respond in a way that American-born white supremacists would respond. She told him, and this is what she told the district, why, if it was so bad here, he did not go to another place to live. This is what she said, coming from Cuba, being an immigrant, okay? The young brother stated back, they brought me here. Yeah, accurate response. She replied saying, well, if you can go back because I came here from Cuba, and the day I feel I'm not welcome here anymore, I can find another place to live. Now, listen, this is the thing. Let's talk about that little statement right there. You said that I came from Cuba. Why did you come from Cuba? Why don't you stay in Cuba and make Cuba a good place to live? Make Cuba a great country. Why are you coming over here? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about his ancestors, the little 11-year-old brother's ancestors, made a way for you to come over here, because at one point in time they wouldn't allow you to come over here, period. And it wasn't been for native-born black American descendant of slaves, okay, you would have no opportunity over here whatsoever. You come in here and then you want to be disrespectful to the people that helped get you over here. You take advantage of affirmative action and everything else that black people have fought for. Then you want to look down on a black kid that's talking about what's happening in his country that he was born in and he has lineage in, and you're going to open your mouth and tell him if he don't like it, he can leave. Let me tell you something. It's enough we got to deal with white supremacists here. We don't need to be importing them in. And then let's talk about that immigration situation with Cuba as well. Why is it you don't import a bunch of Cubans that look like me? Let's talk about that for a minute. Everybody else is coming in, but in all these countries, they got people that look like me. But yet, notice that they aren't coming in. They aren't flooding the borders. Why is that? If those countries are so bad, why isn't the black Cubans are trying to come in? And then when the black Cubans do try to come in, because they have tried, what you do to them? You turn their boats around and send them right back to Cuba. So don't get me started on that aspect of it, because that is a real aspect. Then you said that you can go back to Cuba if you had any kind of knowledge and any kind of education. What country in the continent of Africa does he come from? So supposedly he can go back to. Last time I checked, none. His ancestors came from there, but he don't know what country to go back to. What deals do you know of that the American government made with African nations for him to go to wherever he wants to go, right? A lot of African nations are even scared to cross the United States in a lot of areas with that. You imagine the African nations, all of them start saying, you got permanent residency here now, you got land, you got citizenship, and they just get in unison with that. Trust me, United States will have a big problem with that. They would. But the thing is, the disrespect that you have with some, not all, some immigrants coming into this country, you always try to look down on the black man, black woman, and black children. So my thing is, Miss Alvarez, you could take yourself back to Cuba, because that's where you belong. Stop coming over here trying to look down on black people. If you're so much better than this black child, then why are you here? That's the only thing I want to say. Everybody, you all want to run from y'all countries and come over here. I'm just saying it for what it is. I have no problem with somebody coming over here and being good people and getting acclimated in society, you know, pay your taxes, do everything that anybody else is doing. Fine. But don't come over here looking down on the people that it wouldn't been for them, you wouldn't have got over here. No, we as black Americans got to start telling all these people that's coming in here, even black immigrants too, you're going to put some respect on our name. It's just that simple. You're not going to come over here looking down on us and calling us names and thinking you better. How you better you came over here? How you better? That's what I want to know. It's not like we came over where you at and we trying to get an opportunity to live with your country. You come here. Aren't we looking down on black Americans? No, it's just disrespectful. And we all calling that out now. And since we calling this out, people want to say, oh, they have hatred. There ain't no hatred at all. It is facts. Facts state that we are the ones that not only built this country, but we fought for everybody to have a chance to come in here. And black people's loving nature has gotten us in trouble, so much so that now people demand us to fight for everybody, demand us to carry the load for everybody, and we don't supposed to say nothing. Now that day is done. No. You're going to respect black Americans, because we're going to tell you, because see, before, we wasn't telling you to respect black folks. And no one's going to respect you if you don't demand respect. That's just that simple. So now we're saying that to Miss Alvarez or whoever else that got something to say from Cuba. Put some respect on our name. Cubans had nothing to do with what this child is talking about that's accurate. That lets me know that you team white supremacy. Also let me know you probably one of the people that probably voted against Andrew Gillum when he literally was going to do something for y'all. He had an agenda for immigrants. He didn't have a black agenda, but he had an agenda for immigrants, and you still voted against Andrew Gillum because you didn't want that dark-skinned black man to be a governor of Florida. It's just that simple. That's why you saw the voting the way it was, those you looked at the thing with the midterm elections. That's why the Democrats, when they're putting all their stock into, immigrants and other groups, they don't vote like black people vote. They don't vote in the block. But I want you to hear real quick the mother, because the mother was real bothered by this. Of course, she's real bothered by this. I would be very upset by this. Now let's roll a quick clip of the mom and how she feel about the situation.
I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm hurt. More so for my son. My son hasn't never been through anything like this, and I feel like they should have handled this differently. She was wrong. She was way out of place. The charges dropped, and I want the school to be held accountable and the officer for what happened, because it shouldn't have been handled the way that it was handled.
If it were me, and I was even just a small-time lawyer, I'll be chomping at the bit with this case, because I'm looking at, okay, you're violating this child's freedom of speech. You're retaliating on him because of this. And then you have this cop that arrests this child in the class, and you want to say that he's being, to make sure I tell you the right charge, he was being disruptive to a school event. You want to arrest him on that. You claim that he threatened the teacher, which we know good and well that is a lie. He ain't threatening no teacher. Anytime a black person stand up for themselves, oh, they're being threatening, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's always something, okay? And it goes back to the live stream that we had posted yesterday with Sister Vicky Dillard on the Sunday Morning Power Hour in the area of powerlessness. So we talked about that. And if we recap that, it talks about the use of violence and the power of the government to bring black people into submission. And see, they don't want this young 11-year-old boy to take a stand for his people, to take a stand for his ancestors. So let's use the power of the government, which is your police. Understand something. Anything the police is doing to you, that is your government. They are representations of your government. They are the enforcement wing of your government. They're not just some separate entity by themselves, and the politicians are, hey, they're not doing this like the police are. No, they're doing the exact thing the politicians want to you. They come up with these laws, these statutes, these ordinances, so they can do it to you. That's their job, to enforce what they come up with. So yes, your government is putting you into submission because they don't want you to take a stand for your community. Now, it was nothing wrong with what this young brother stated. Nothing. It was accurate, for one, but they don't want a young black man standing up, or a young black child standing up for themselves. They want us to be on some all lives matter. They want us to be shucking and jiving. Or they want us to go out there with a poster saying the teacher's not racist. That's what they want us doing. They're comfortable with that. They're not comfortable with an 11-year-old child saying that song's offensive, that flag's racist. Hell no. Who is this coming up? And it goes back once again to what I stated. The case for Afrocentric schools. If this young man was in an Afrocentric school, you wouldn't have no government official, which is the police, roaming around the facility, the campus. Any little thing that a black child do, he want to put some charges on them. We all know about that school to prison pipeline. And when they put those cops in the school, they made it 10 times worse. Our children don't fare well with the police or representatives of the government. They don't. You know this. We know that there is a skewed system of justice in this country for black people. We talked about that yesterday. It's a different set of rules for our children versus their children. Now, if this was a white child and Miss Alvarez would have said the exact same thing and done that to this white child, this would have been all over Fox News. They'd have been talking about how she's an immigrant into this country. How dare she say things like this? They'll be talking about his freedom of speech, and they're suing. And this is what I would say to the mom: you need to sue. I will sue the school district. I will sue everybody, because that is wrong. That is totally wrong. He has a right to freedom of speech in this country. Yes, he do. Because his ancestors not only built this country, his ancestors fought in every conflict. His ancestors fought in every war. Matter of fact, you wouldn't have an America. It wouldn't be for Christmas addicts jumping off the Revolutionary War. They didn't even jump off their own Revolutionary War. It took a black man to do it. So with that being said, yes, you have a right to freedom of speech as a black person. We have to start making everyone put respect on us by demanding the respect, by demanding your freedom of speech, your due process, etc. If you don't demand it, just as much like now you're demanding a black agenda, you're demanding saying, I don't want to hear that people of color crap. I don't want to hear no minorities. All I care about is black Americans, African Americans, descendants of slaves, whatever name you want to call us. That's what I'm talking about, period. That's all I want to know about at this point in time, because we are tired of not being respected. We're tired of not getting anything out of the deal. We're watching everybody eat a buffet and then we starving all the time. So that day is done. And that's why I'm so proud of us for doing this and taking a stand once and for all. But yes, people like Ms. Alvarez got to be checked too. They got to be checked. You don't come in here talking down to us like that. And this mom needs to sue. It's just bottom line. I'm surprised Ben Crump ain't ran in on this one. If he ever ran in on it, he'll be in it shortly. Probably he right there in Florida. So yeah, I can see Ben Crump face all on this one. That'd be right up his alley. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this particular story. I mean, we just have all kind of things going on in here, but the thing is, we as black Americans, native black Americans, that are descendants of slaves, we need to make sure to don't let no one disrespect us like that. No, we open up the doors for a lot of people to come in. The least they can do is just have some respect. If they don't understand it, that's fine. They can get educated on it. But you're not going to come in here and sound like these white supremacists talking about you can go back to somewhere when you know exactly where you came from and you ran over here talking about you want a better life. But then that's fine. I have no issues with that. I really don't. But don't come disrespecting us. Because if that's the case, you should just stay where you was at and make your country great.